think you should.
Welcome to this week's episode of Whoscussion. We are hosts from Whānau, That Random Guy, and the essentially pleasing Harry Iskelly.
Oh yeah.
Yes. For part A of this week, we're going to be talking about World Enough and Time, and then we'll be following it up with Arc of Infinity, which is the beginning of the 20th anniversary season. So, looking forward to that. Part B will be spearheaded by a Fifth Doctor main range story. This will be I think this is the second main range story we've done, because I think we did Dust Breeding at one point. Yeah, with the Seventh Doctor and the Master. I think we did. I might be wrong. We've been doing this for nearly 2 years now, so my memory's not the greatest. So it's going to be spare parts, the genesis of the Cybermen. And we'll be finishing it off with Quantum Heresy. So 26B will be last this week. World Enough in Time. Harry Skelly?
Alright. We can do this. So, World Enough and Time. Probably one of the more confusing episode names ever.
It's a reference
honestly.
to some poem, apparently.
Yeah, I guess. Still weird.
Yeah.
I mean, Anyway. So, we start off with, we start off with the Missy and Bill and Nardo coming out onto the spaceship, and
What does she
basically
call them? Thing one and the other one.
Yeah, she just keeps calling them random things like disposables and just a bunch of different stuff. It's pretty funny. So we find out quickly enough that they're on a spaceship that is reversing away from a black hole, but is so long that it is having problems with the time dimensions, because as you get closer to gravity, the stronger gravity is in a particular place, the more time slows down. Basically, it's weird. I'm not going to go into like the physics of it, but it's
Gravity
a thing that's
time.
true. Yeah, gravity does bend time in a particular way, and that's actually quite factual, honestly, about this whole episode, which is nice. It's interesting. I wouldn't imagine that anyone on the staff decided to do a calculation and actually depict exactly how long that sort of would affect it. But I'm sure that somebody in the scientific community who likes Doctor Who will have done it and can absolutely tell you if it's true or not mathematically. But it's basically for every few seconds of time in the first level, years go by at the very end level. So yeah, that's a thing. Anyway, immediately once they arrive, another one of the blue aliens, obviously people are running out of ideas, are come out of
the same race as the alien we met in Oxygen.
Yeah, which really doesn't make sense unless the humans from Oxygen are also from Mondas, but that also didn't seem right either.
No.
So it's weird that these blue aliens then meet up with another completely different race of humans and just accepted that. It's weird. Anyway, so he comes in, he's freaking out because some things are coming, and he's freaking out because he thinks that the reason that it's happening is because there's a human, and both the Doctor and Missy are both like, well, we're not, and Nardo's like, well, not really, kind of. And eventually this sort of culminates in finally in not and not the same way that oxygen happens. Bill actually gets shot this time.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, whoa, all right, we're gonna start off with this. That's interesting. So yeah, then from the elevators pops out some people in some serious bandaging and some hospital gowns, holding on their IV things to pick her up and take her away, saying that they're going to fix it. And the doctor leaves a subconscious memory for her to say that he's going to come for her. She needs to wait. So she gets taken in the elevator all the way down to the bottom floor. So in the few seconds that it takes for the doctor to explain to this blue guy what's going on, and the audience, of course, at the same time, and then get into the elevator and finally go down, it has been years for Bill. So a lot of the story revolves around what Bill is currently up to. So she spends years down in this bottom level with another human race, it seems, who have spawned out of these years of being stuck in the black hole's grasp, who are repairing people, or at least seem to be fixing people with replacing parts metallically in some way. Just, cybernetics sort of deal. Androidism, I guess. And Bill's not too particularly happy about this, of course, because she's Bill. But someone there is helping her out. Kind of, I guess. He's sort of like sarcastically helping her out, really. It seems like.
Get strong.
Yes. Yeah. So over that period, she figures out that that these people that they've been converting, yes, I said converting, are are not particularly happy with this. That they're actually in a lot of pain, but are not being, it's not properly being associated, really. Basically, this world, the township that she's found herself in, are in a bit of a pickle because the atmosphere is becoming harsher, and basically life's not getting any better on this starship that is stuck in a black hole. So they're replacing the humans' population with the precursor to some Cybermen. Eventually, this all culminates in Bill getting tricked into going into the conversion place and getting herself cyber-converted. Not before the Doctor, Missy, and Nardo find themselves back down there. Well, I guess just before.
Yeah, just before.
They get down there, where the Doctor and Nardo find her and find out that it's Bill. Missy finds out that the planet that this ship came from was actually Mondas, which we kind of already knew based on all the cyber stuff going on.
Yeah,
so
I want to talk about that when we go to
yeah,
part
we'll talk
B.
about that in a second.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that a lot. But yeah. And turns out that the person that was helping out Bill, what was his name? Razor. Turns out that was totally still the master before I really don't know, honestly. I guess it's after going back to Gallifrey. But
it has to be after End of Time.
Yeah, but before being regenerated into a lady.
Mm.
Yeah. And they join forces, and it seems like it's going to go all to hell for the Doctor.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Especially since the following episode is going to be called The Doctor Falls.
Yeah. And considering the real beginning of this was extremely spoilery, with the Doctor seeming like he's going to regenerate.
Yeah, and it looks like ages has passed as well.
Because Moffat is incapable of not spoiling stuff. So, yeah, that is the that is the story. Definitely got a whole lot of things to say about it, but I'll let you go first.
Yeah. So my problem, my only major gripe. Okay, I've got two major gripes. My main major gripe was if they hadn't have spoiled that John Sims was coming back, Razor's reveal would have been revealing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because as soon as he appeared, when he's like, "You're awake, good," and then left, my wife was just like, "Hey, that's the master." I was just like, "Well, they really did try," and it's annoying.
Or even if they just, I think the reason why this became a problem, honestly, is because they obviously decided what they were doing for John Sim with his prosthetic and his costume before somebody else decided that they were going to reveal his presence in there.
Yeah.
So what probably should have happened was the people who decide whether or not we spoil something should have decided that before we decided on what outfit he was going to wear. Because if they had decided that first, then they could have been like, okay, we need to do a lot more prosthetic onto John Sim to make him not look like John Sim.
Yeah.
Because the eyes instantly gave it away.
Yeah.
They did a whole lot of the Klingon forehead ridges. They did a bunch of facial hair, but he still looked like John Sim because the main thing about John Sim is the eyebrows and the eyes. They make him that's just the thing. They didn't even they could have done the 12th Doctor spoiler effect of doing the just the eye ridge and the nose.
Yeah.
Just to show that it's John Sim. Anyone seeing that would know. So if you don't prosthetic that, people are gonna know that it's him.
Exactly. So that was a bit crap because it was. I mean, it kind of works as well because since you already know it's the master, him talking to Bill is a falsehood the whole time. So he's just. And
it is fairly amusing.
Yeah.
The way that he talks to her, and the relationship that they have, because that he's just being evil.
Yeah.
But
you want the good tea or the bad tea?
Yeah. Like hugging you makes my heart hurt. No, it's because it's your thing pushing into my chest.
So yeah, I think they've definitely toned down the RTD-ness of Sim's Master, where he was a cartoon character.
The reveal itself was rather cartoony though, because he clearly had just additional prosthetics added to his face, right?
Yeah.
But he pulled off a full mask.
Oh no! He does have a full head mask. There's a video of behind the scenes. He has a full head mask. That's a completely
but
different
not
head on top of him.
It's not a full facial mask though, right?
No, they did. It's a whole fake silicon head. There's a behind the scenes of it.
Oh, then how did they mess up him having still his eyebrow?
I don't know. Yeah, he's got a completely silicon head because he's the long hair isn't a wig on his head. It's a wig on the actual silicon head. Right. So yeah, there's a really good behind the scenes. I might put that in the description for this podcast. But
it is interesting. Then why would they?
How they balls that up? I don't know.
Like John Still. Yeah.
I really wish BBC hadn't spoiled John Sim's return. I think they were just doing that to try and get the ratings up because the ratings have been struggling since Matt Smith left. Which BBC seems to think is Peter Capaldi's fault, which it isn't. Yeah. It's the scripts.
It really is.
If series 8 and 9 were good, we wouldn't be having this problem.
Yes.
So, I don't know. Another thing that annoyed me as well is this colony ship leaving Mondas, right?
Yeah.
And they're the Mondasian Cybermen. They kind of been created first off on the ship.
Well, the thing is, really, it's interesting because it's very plausible based on this level of science that they've got. Obviously, to even then that doesn't really make sense. Honestly, it's plausible that there's two. That they develop this proper Cyberman thing that they have individually, so that they have it happen on their planet and they have it happen on the ship, and coincidingly, so at the same time.
Yeah, see, I see that doesn't fly because in Spare Parts, their technology is stuck in the 1950s.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I'm getting at. Is that when Mondas's history, would they have ever been colony shipbuilders? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever, because they were incapable of putting their planet back into orbit when they left orbit, which is kind of the big problem that they had leaving orbit. So when was this a thing for them?
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't work. And especially since they're quite clearly trying to tie this to the 10th planet, because when it shows the 12th Doctor regenerating, that's Antarctica.
Yeah.
It's Antarctica. And I'm just like, okay, you are quite clearly tying this to the 10th planet.
Mm.
Even in the 10th planet, you know that the Mondasian Cybermen were like, hey, we've come here because Mondas is running out of energy, because we Cybertroned our entire planet. We Optimus Primed our planet. So we need to mineral all of the stuff off Earth. Yeah, more of a Megatron. They Megatroned their planet. They Unicroned their planet. And then they came along and they're like, hey, we need to eat your stuff. And the Doctor's like, nah, I'm going to stop that from happening. And Polly is going to figure out how to melt your actual face. She's actually going to do that. And Polly's like, cool, I'm helpful.
Yeah. But we'll talk more about the actual genesis of the Cybermen once we get to Spare Parts.
Yeah, exactly.
But the thing is really
so weird.
What it seems more to me is that they're trying to describe the genesis of the Daleks. But what I think, the genesis of the Cybermen.
Yeah.
Sorry, just going for another story there, genesis of the Daleks.
I really wish John Sim didn't actually say that. It was annoying when he said that. Genesis of the Cybermen. I was like, that's too on the nose.
Although I guess John Sim saying it is kind of amusing though. At the same time, you're just like, really? This is just his thing. Honestly, I think that's a way better thing for John Sim to have than the drums. Is just the master that says if he was just the master that said the story names all the time, that would be fine by me. Instead of being the master that had the drums in his head. Yeah. Would have been way better. But anyway,
But remember, the master always had drums in his head.
Anyway.
I hate you, Russell Davies.
Yeah. What I'm imagining here instead is that this colony ship, even if wherever it came from, probably didn't come from Mondas, whatever.
It could be the blue people. The blue people could have done it. Maybe.
Yeah. What I'm thinking instead is, because in the future, in the next time on Doctor Who, the big spoiler at the end of every episode, they've got Cypress-looking Cybermen in there. So what I'm thinking is that Missy and the Master, or just John Sim's Master really, had been messing with the development of the humans on the colony ship.
Yeah.
And he's the reason why they turned into Mondasian Cybermen. Rather than this is the actual genesis of the Cybermen.
Right.
If that makes sense.
So, okay.
It also kind of explains why later on in his time stream, when he becomes a lady, she creates a Cyberman race out of humans.
Using the Matrix of Gallifrey, like that's pretty messed up. That is pretty messed up.
But, the ones that she makes also look like the Cybus ones.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm thinking, and that's what I'm hoping is the case, is that it's just the Master messing with the time stream.
Yeah.
Because that makes way more sense than trying to decanonize Spare Parts, which is honestly a far superior Genesis story.
Yes. Yes, it is.
So, I mean, like, this story wasn't bad by any means. Like,
No,
it was
no.
interesting.
I like the
liked
horror elements. I think it was really well
Yeah.
played.
I like the concept and I like the idea behind it. But yeah, it's honestly not nearly as good as the actual genesis of the Cybermen. So yeah, uh, it's weird. If they just like tried to say that it was just an independent thing, or if they sell it in the next episode that it was actually just John Sims Master messing with time, then I'm okay with it, because that makes sense, because that's what the Master always did, is messed with things.
Yeah.
And it's particularly John Sims Master, who literally created a paradox machine. So,
Yes, he did.
You know, and that makes more sense than trying to decanonize something that's already amazing. And honestly, if you wanted to do that, BBC, you should have just spent the money on animating spare parts.
That would be great. Just animating Big
Or
Finish.
Even better would be like doing a crossover where time's messed up and 12th Doctor's back with 5th Doctor and Nyssa on Mondas.
It'd be cool. I think it would work better if, like, he sees them in passing. You know, like body doubles of Peter and Sarah Sutton. Peter Davison and Sarah Sutton. That's going to get confusing. There's 2 Bakers as well.
There is 2 Peters, 2 Bakers.
It's 2 Peters and 2 Bakers, and you see them
Peter
in the distance, and you find out that the Master is actually the one that creates the AI that sets off the whole thing in motion. I don't know. It's weird. I still think this was a good episode from a cinematic point of view. The cinematography was there. The score. Oh, the score was really good. Yeah. I rewatched this episode this morning, and I was just like, wow, this score is very good. When they revealed Bill, part of Edric's theme was incorporated, which I thought was pretty cool. Yeah. They were just like, we totally get it. This is another Killed by the Cybermen companion. There was also another giveaway was actually in the score before the reveal, and even if you didn't know John Sim was coming back, and you may be a casual Doctor Who fan, which
you can hear the drums.
Which isn't bad. No. Before that even is the beginning notes of Master Victorious. The that actually plays when Bill sees the TV for the first time. Yeah. And I was like,
it does.
If BBC hadn't have ruined it, this would have been
if they
hadn't have ruined it, this would have been the awesome reveal moment, because you're like, hey, that sounds like Master Victorious. And then when it reveals it's the Master, you'll be like, oh, Murray Gold, you're a genius. And Murray Gold probably thought they weren't going to balls that up, and that's why he did it. He used the motif from his music, which his music is incredible. And I'm really glad that it stands out in the story. Oh yeah, okay, fine. Valedicium was a bit too far. But this is a Jesus metaphor. But I can't believe that song actually means goodbye 10 as well. Like, oh my god. But anyway, I think that would have been a really good use of motifs, and then the final reveal would have been really, 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 really powerful. There was a little bit of on-the-nose dialogue from Missy, I felt, was when she was like, if Earth had a twin, this would be it. Yeah. And I'm just like, okay, if you're a classic Who fan, like some people who have a weekly podcast might be, you'll be like, oh, that's Mondas. And I think that was more of like a wink nudge at us.
Which also kind of makes it seem like a little bit like more of a punch in the face to us, really, when you consider the implications of it being from Mondas, making no sense to the Mondasian history at all.
It was just like, screw you, classic fans. Remember the 50th? And I'm like,
here it is, punch in the face.
Yeah, I remember the 8th quite a while. I'm sorry, the 50th. But yeah, I think Bill Mackey's performance in this, outstanding. She's been outstanding this whole season, but she was given a lot of stuff to deal with. I like the reveal of her as the Cyberman. I waited because they're the Cybermen that scare me the most, and I know that they're the $2 shop looking ones, but I think that's what scares me about them.
Exactly, it's the ski masks.
Yeah, and the fact that they're wearing like a hazmat suit as opposed to what they wear later on, which is actual armor. And it's just I've always found that really uncomfortable, especially the way they talk. It's like sort of early electronics, and that sort of almost scary World War II era. Yeah, sort of postmodern technology, and I was always found that very, very uncomfortable about them. So they were delivered quite well. Nicholas Briggs knocked it out of the park as the Mondasian Cybermen. I think their use of the boards before they get given the proper chest units. That one that's walking down the hall and it says "Dead Me." Yeah. And
it was great.
And I was like, that's such a good use of that prop. I mean, when you can incorporate a prop like this and make it work, sell the story, give me a great atmospheric experience, it just makes me think, Stephen, where was this the last 2 seasons? Where was it? Because I know you're a good writer. I know you are. Just write well. Just do it.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Any more thoughts on the story, Harry Kelly?
I mean, yeah. There is one part of this that I'm not a big fan of, story-wise, other than, the plot problems, is the beginning of this was all over the place with the, going backward and forward.
Oh, the flash forwards and flashbacks, I agree.
Yeah, which made no sense.
It should have been told linearly.
Yeah, it should have just been. It just should have just been told as normal from where we were last episode, where, they go back to the school and it's told linearly from I'm gonna put her in the thing, all the stuff, and then actually landing on it. You don't need. This is Doctor Who you're showing, right? Yeah. You don't need to do something real crazy at the beginning. You don't have to show us them landing on a spaceship for us to be engaged initially. We're watching Doctor Who. The engagingness is whether or not you can keep the story standing. It's really unnecessary, and it just made it made the rest of the story hard to follow even more so, because the time dilation that we're having between the Doctor and Bill, This constant backward and forward continued throughout the story. The difference is that once we'd left behind the flashbacks, it started being a linear backward and forward, just in 2 time streams. So it made it harder to do that. And honestly, a lot of younger viewers probably would have had a hard time dealing with that. So it was unnecessary and worse. It didn't achieve what you wanted it to do in any case, basically. So why did you do it? Please no, stop.
My only final things that I want to talk about is I felt the Doctor and the Master talking about their childhood was like Pertwee era, how the Master and the Doctor talked about the past in that era was. I thought that was quite nice. When the blue fella calls Missy a human, and she goes, "Don't be a bitch." I was like, so good. That was so, and I bet you that was improv. That was so good. I was like, wow, Michelle Gomez. Just the way she delivered that line was great. But yeah, I really liked that Pertwee era feeling to the dialogue. And what I thought was a bit weird is in the regeneration scene at the beginning. Why does he look like Pertwee at the end of Planet of the Spiders? He looks exactly like Pertwee from the end of Planet of the Spiders. I was just like,
he kind of does, yeah.
That's okay. That's clearly Antarctica, and he looks like John Pertwee. All right.
Yeah.
Which makes me think that Theta Sigma is actually dying.
That would be.
That's what I really want. I want Theta Sigma to be dead.
Yeah. But hey, we'll find out. Christmas.
We will. We will. Or some of
Not
us
even
might
next
have already
episode.
found out about Christmas. I don't know who that is. So we'll jump into.
You don't know if anyway.
We don't exactly know.
don't know.
What's it called? We
know
war in
some
peace.
things.
No, we war in peace. No.
We're in peace.
So we're gonna jump back in time to the Fifth Doctor with Arc of Infinity. This story starts the 20th anniversary season off, and it tells you it's the 20th anniversary throughout the story without telling you it's the 20th anniversary, if that makes any sense. So we start off with these two Australians, and I was like, oh.
That's my constant reaction to Australians. Right.
These two Australians, and they're in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
And they're just Australian touristing everywhere. One of them's lost their passport, and they're like, oh, it's going to be real hard to get a place with me not having my passport. So they go and sleep in the sewers while they're, or some catacomb looking, in a crypt. They're in a crypt. And then a giant space skeleton, skeleton chicken, comes out of the wall.
Like a human pterodactyl.
Yeah, like a human pterodactyl, which, to be honest, I love the design. They're called ergons. I love the design of this alien. And I really wish this was the design used in the 10th anniversary when we get a little further in the story.
They reminded me particularly of Danger 5, which I'm not sure if you've watched it.
I am planning to do that this week.
Yeah, there's one episode of Danger 5, which is also produced in Australia, by the way, which is surprising that I enjoy it so much when you think about it. But anyway, there's one episode where there is like a human pterodactyl, and it looks like they're kind of wearing the same sort of like suit. So that's where I'm getting the pterodactyl vibe from.
Oh, okay. No, that's pretty cool. I mean, like, you know, Doctor Who influences some random things. Maybe it's one of the things that influenced. Who knows? But one of the Australians manages to make it out after the other Australian is zapped and seemingly disappears. And then we go off to the Doctor, who is in the TARDIS, and him and this are just having a conversation about like TARDIS tech and stuff. And Nissa actually talks about something that I had an issue with in our last Fifth Doctor story. So Tegan's left because this takes place after Time Flight, which is a story we've already covered. So this is 2 stories after Earthshock. And Nissa says, hey, you know how the Cybermen destroyed the TARDIS and stuff? And the Doctor's like, yeah. Isn't there meant to be temporal grace here? And the Doctor's like, yeah, well, not everyone's perfect. And it's really great because, like, I had an issue with that. The writers of Doctor Who had an issue with that. It was really good. And I'm just glad that it was Nissa as well, since she is basically supercomputer intellect. The Doctor and Nissa, whilst they're in the TARDIS starts to go haywire. Nissa and the Doctor gap it out of the console room, and then the Doctor seems to be invaded by some entity. Nissa is like, oh, the entity's, it's entered you. Are you okay, Doctor? And the Doctor's like, yeah, I seem to be alright. But the Doctor is then called back to Gallifrey. We see there's a Time Lord talking with this insect humanoid guy. And then at the airport, the surviving Australian guy finds out that the guy who got disintegrated, well, seemingly disintegrated, his cousin was turning up today in Amsterdam. And it's Tegan. She's got a brand new haircut, brand new costume finally, although she was wearing that military uniform in Earthshock. And we find out she's lost her job. And I think the Doctor and Time Flight might have been responsible for that. So she's in Amsterdam hanging out, and they're like, she's like, where's my cousin? He's like, you're not going to believe me. And she's like, all right, must be aliens. And the guy's like, wait, you believe me? She's like, dude, I've seen some crazy stuff in the past couple of years. I believe you. So they got to go hunt her cousin down. They end up taking on this Aragon thing. And they end up scuffling with it. And they both get teleported off. The Doctor is brought to Gallifrey. And he's put on trial. Because, I mean, like, why not? You know, they always do. We find Borusa has regenerated and become the president. I liked his last incarnation. I kind of wish they brought that guy back. This Borusa was very, very like, I'm very calm all the time. I'm like a nice old man. And he was. This Borusa was this nice old man. I was like, no, the old Borusa was feisty. I liked him. The High Council are like, hey, Doctor, a chancellery guard is played by Colin Baker, the future 6th Doctor. And he's playing Maxwell. And I just love Maxwell. Like, he's just oozing with contempt. And the fact that he shoots the Doctor as well, I was like, that's great. That is so great that he shoots the Doctor. Every scene he's in with the Doctor, he's just like, I hate you. But he doesn't say I hate you. It's just implied. I love it. Yeah. I love every scene he's in. I just really like this character. Yeah, it's that acting. I love the elaborate headdress he wears because he's the commander. I'm the commander. Here's my elaborate headdress. And Nissa ends up befriending this guy who works in the TARDIS Matrix environment. Not TARDIS Matrix, the Gallifreyan Matrix environment. And he's like, hey, Doctor, I think you're getting framed for this antimatter crime. Because the High Council are like, hey, you might bring antimatter into our universe. And we don't want that. We're going to have to disintegrate you. Which is interesting because we know in his future, he gets sent out of time because he gets poisoned with anti-time. So the High Council have been getting ready to do this to the Doctor for some time.
Yeah. But of course, the funniest thing that I think is that, like, originally when he got possessed, when they're trying to figure out what the deal is, Nissa is like, it came from anti-time. And then the Doctor's like, I think I might know who this is. And everyone in the audience is like, we know who this is.
Exactly. We know exactly who it is. Thank you, 20th anniversary, for actually caring about your fans. So the Doctor ends up staving off his execution, figuring out what's going on. We find out that Hedon, one of the Doctor's tutors from the Academy, not as cool as Borusa though, who's played by Michael Goff, the Celestial toy maker, who's all like, man, imagine if I turned out to be the villain. Wouldn't that be crazy? And what's great is, like, you know, he was brought on to celebrate the 20th anniversary. That's why they brought back Michael Goff. I suppose they couldn't find the scripts for the Celestial Toymaker to come back, which, to be honest, would be hard. I think writing the Celestial Toymaker would be difficult. So they're like, hey, Michael Goff, can you come back? We're going to get you to play Hedon, one of the Doctor's other tutors. Okay, cool. He turns out to be the bad guy. And, of course, the antimatter villain is Omega. I like that they gave him a redesign. I think that was a really good way to sort of fake out. You know, have especially audience members back then before, you know, the internet would have been like, hey, is that Omega? And then the reveal's like, you know, you could War and Peace know, or people were like, I didn't know that was Omega until part 4. So that was quite cool. And this is why I think I really wish the Ergons were the design that they went with for the antimatter monsters in the 10th anniversary. Because, I mean, those blobs were intimidating. The Ergon, however, is. It's good to see Omega's actually refined his art of antimatter monsters. And so, the Doctor, Omega's created this sort of faux TARDIS that he's using to bring himself from antimatter into normal matter, into normal space. And he's going to be using the Doctor's body originally, but he decides to create a copy of the Doctor to put himself in. The effects for when he's transforming, I thought were very good for the time and for the budget. That design of him sort of melting into the Fifth Doctor, I loved it. I thought it was a brilliant piece of television. And this story is great because we had Nyssa earlier in the story just dealing to Time Lord guards.
Yes,
And
yes indeed.
it's really great because, like, the gun she's using, I really hope she had on stun, because the Chancellery guard weapon can stop you from generating. So I hope she had that gun on stun. The Doctor's like, of course Tegan had to be involved in this. Tegan managed to send a psychic message to the Doctor. The Doctor turns up just in the nick of time to stop Omega from completely becoming one with reality. The Doctor's like, I need to kill Omega, because if I don't, he's going to just regress back into antimatter and destroy normal space. So they hunt Omega like they hunt Omega throughout Amsterdam. And it's not like, you know, they're looking for him. They're hunting this guy down. And Omega's like walking around having a good time. He's like, oh, normal space isn't too bad. And then the Doctor shoots him like 7 times. He's like, bzz, 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 bzz. I'm like, Doctor, I think 1 would have been enough. And then Omega's like, ah! And he like starts exploding from his chest and is sent back to the antimatter universe. And this is like, hey, do you think Omega survived? And the Doctor's like, well, he's survived before. Surely he survived this time. So all happily ever after. I'm pretty certain I didn't brutally murder him. And I'm just like, Doctor, we just physically saw you brutally murder him.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it so much. Because it's like, you know, that man who never would speech, like, dude, you shot Omega 7 times when 1 was enough. That actually happened.
No, one was not enough. What are you talking about?
1 was not enough. This is a great start to the 20th anniversary. Tegan joins them simply because she's like, I'm unemployed. And the Doctor's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
The Doctor's like, oh, what? Okay.
I love the look in his face too. He's like, why? I know you're unemployed, but just go home. And it's just great.
You're stuck with me now. And he's like, oh.
He's like, oh.
Please, no.
Please, no.
The same reaction I had.
But Tegan's back with Nyssa. And this is just a really good 20th anniversary story. You know, it feels like they actually cared about their fans. So this is the beginning of the 20th anniversary. We're heading up to the 5 Doctors. Can't wait to cover that in a couple of weeks. I think we've done another story in this season. I think
Mordwin or Undead.
we did. So we'll be getting to that.
Severus Black Guardian.
Yeah, yes, with Severus Black Guardian. Kill the Doctor. No, I won't. I'm just a high school boy who looks like he's at least 25. You know, poor Mark Strickson. So with that, guys, we will jump over to part B.
Catch you on the flip side.